Well then, if we've all got our breath back after the sprint, let's go and qualify for the Grand Prix, shall we? The big ones have come on Sunday afternoon here in Shanghai. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. 56 laps to go in tomorrow's race for what is round 2 of this Formula 1 season. In 2025, and round this track, we shall go 3.38 miles long. Michael Schumacher with the race lap record. 16 corners, 7 to the left and 9 to the right. You take your lap distance at full throttle. And for about 68% of that lap, there are 52 gear changes at a maximum speed of well over 200 miles an hour. 2 DRS zones as well, and the 3 tyre compounds. And they're taking quite a punishment, these tyres, this weekend. At the hard is the C2, the medium, which we use for the sprint, is the C3, and the soft, which we'll use for qualifying in the main, is the C4. And all day long, the fans have been flocking to this Shanghai circuit, and they've all come to cheer on their favourite driver, and pretty much every driver on the grid is represented. But there is a lot of red. Red for China, red for Ferrari, and a lot of very happy Ferrari fans after Lewis Hamilton won the sprint from pole position. Can he, though, Martin Brundle, go and qualify somewhere up the front, do it all over again?
Yeah, certainly vintage Lewis is in the sprint, but he's got his work cut out, as they all have. It's so close between the top 4 teams. You'd have to say, on previous form, if the McLaren boys picked up all 3 sectors with an excellent lap, they ought to be, one of them ought to be on pole position. But I think it's all to play for. Anybody in the top 4 teams have got enough car underneath them and enough speed to find themselves on the front line of the grid there. I mean, it is, it's a half a tenth is all you need.
Absolutely. Brand new surface here. It's been completely resurfaced, the track, and that is giving us extra grip, and as a result, faster and faster lap times as well. The all-time best lap record has been set by Lewis Hamilton.
And the good thing about the sprints these days, in the latter days, is that they can, if they're out of pattern, they can make changes to their cars and think about qualifying, and of course think about the race tomorrow when they've got an awful lot more fuel on board. They will almost certainly be using the hard tyre in the race, but they've only got 2 sets of those, so I wouldn't use them in qualifying. Instead, they don't risk those 2 sets of tyres, so it's a bit of a gamble and an adventure. They'll find out how they go in the race, but you have to assume they'll be more durable than the medium if you saw in the 19 lapper this morning. Ted is in the pit.
Hello Martin, hello Company, hello everybody. Yes, morning all, but not the morning race we had earlier. That certainly sharpened the minds. But now, with qualifying almost begun, everyone was absolutely as keen as anything to get on with it. As soon as the little Durder finished properly, they were all the way. As soon as the drivers were allowed to leave the pits, they were down there waiting. I'm counting at least 15 drivers queued up at the red light, waiting at least 4.5 minutes while their tyre pressures drop. And that's really the reason. They can get out there. It's still blisteringly hot down here in the afternoon sun here in Shanghai, but any opportunity, just let the tyre pressures drop, let the tyre relax a bit, get the contact patch a little bit bigger, they will take it. Max Verstappen, one of the drivers who's changed the car between the sprint race and qualifying. Lots of others have as well. I'm seeing mostly all used soft tyres while all the drivers just go out there and have a look at how the changes actually shake out, how the car feels after making these changes between the sprint race and the qualifying session. And well, what do you think of the drivers we should look out for properly in terms of making amends for earlier on? Lawson, Doohan, the Haas drivers, lots of people with something to prove in this race.
All of the above and more. Green light, right at the end of the pit lane, and we can get on.
Yes, so what there are regulations when your tyres must be a minimum pressure when they come out of the blankets at 70 degrees. So they try to let them cool down because these are very high pressure. So these pressures are high, the cars carry so much downforce. You've got an absolutely flipped out, long left-hander in turn 7 and a super long, very fast, accelerating turn 13 onto the back straight. And they're seeing such peak loads in the corners that you need the integrity of the pressure, tyre pressure, to help the tyre out in those highly loaded corners. And so that's what the teams are up to. It's a bit of cat and mouse really, isn't it, on the tyre pressures, but you have to do it for performance. So they'll just creep round and try and lose a little bit more temperature and pressure. But then, of course, you've got to heat them back up. And there's a lot of very clever systems going on inside what we call the biscuit tins, and the system inside to control the temperature, the wheel rim, for example, and the carcass and sidewall of the tyre, and the surface of the tyre as well. So heating engineers, they all are right at the moment, trying to get it absolutely spot on. And you'll see the difference in turns 1, 2 and 3. If they've not got it right, they're sliding all over the place.
And it's worth stating the average temperature in Shanghai in this time of the year, in March, rarely exceeds 18 degrees. At the moment it's 26 degrees and the track temperature 40 degrees. We're on board with Liam Lawson as he makes his way out onto the track. He started last for the sprint with Nico Hulkenberg in the pit lane. His teammate Max Verstappen was on the front row. If you want to ride on board with Liam Lawson for this session or however many sessions he manages in his qualifying, you can do so. There's a QR code to take you straight to your Sky Sports app and you use your login to access the onboard feature with the team radio too. Sky Stream, Sky Q, Sky Glass customers, and now customers can use the interactive button on their remote control. And the four drivers not using any buttons at the moment, or three I should say, are George Russell, Kimi Raikkonen and Max Verstappen. Now the three that are yet to make their way out onto the track. Oscar Piastri has many fans here, I can tell you that, as does Lando Norris. Lando Norris for the first pole of the season in Australia. Oscar Piastri with the 7th front row. He's still waiting for a first pole in Formula 1. And here's Carlos Sainz with the Williams team now, man, who has 6 poles to his name. Take us through this lap.
I think they've made quite a lot of changes to the Williams. They were very disappointed in their performance, especially in the sprint. Today, Carlos does have a really wide turn into that first corner, but already this is turn 5. Downhill braking, turn 6. And get the car around. You've got to have all the braking gear shifting going along before the corner, which you should do on the road as well. And this is the turn 7 I was telling you about. Absolutely flat out for a long period of time. 8 after lifting, a couple of downshifts. Keep it to the right-hand side because you've got a couple of lefts coming up that are quite tight. A short straight now into a critical little left-hander that sets you up for the next 1.5 miles, 2 kilometres there. Now you've got to get it through 13, picking up the throttle, and you can feel in the seat of your pants when the car's ready to take full throttle and you launch off that banking. You'll keep it roughly to the left-hand side. Don't waste a metre down the back straight. I mean, the cars are 5 metres long, so if you waste 5 metres, you waste the car length. And this is the key point, really hit the brake. He's about 105 metres, connects up with the apex nicely, and again, hard power on that. Slightly unsighted from this angle, look, this last corner. There you go, turn it in, ride the curb on the exit, but not the gravel. Keep it to the right-hand side for the shortest run to the line, and Sainz does a 33 flat. Kind of okay.
Takes a third fastest. That is not okay for Jack Doohan, who ended the sprints making contacts and picked up a 10-second penalty for his efforts with Gabriel Bortoleto, with 2 penalty points on his licence. He's had a little spin in the early parts of this qualifying. You might see drivers out there for a couple of push laps on the same set of tyres. We saw that in the sprint qualifying in the early stages there, where they'll go for a flying lap and then pull the tyres down and go for it again. So we might see quite a bit of track activity here. And talking of activity, Lando Norris setting a couple of good sectors on his first flying lap. Oscar Piastri has gone a little bit quicker through the first sector than his teammates.
When we saw one of them trying to go out and temperature testing, it was on used tyres, so they decided to start on that. That might not be such a bad thing today if we've had a heat cycle through them. The front of the McLaren looks a little bit ponderous there for Lando Norris going through the hip, and they're going to have to wait a long time.
Both McLarens on used soft tyres for this run. Norris goes quicker than Pierre Gasly, quicker than anyone else with a 1:32.0. Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, wrestling away is his teammate Charles Leclerc, but Hamilton's gone fastest in the middle sector. Pick up Leclerc through the Leclerc. And Watchalong goes quickest of all. About 4/10 up on Lando Norris, and there's Oscar Piastri in the distance, going over the curb and going to the top of the timing charts by a 1/10 of a second from Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, well, I think when we went on board with Leclerc, he was in the middle of a bit of an adventure down at the hairpin. Just presume he's going to be Jack doing spinning. Yeah, picked up the throttle, got a little bit trigger happy with the throttle pedal there. Too much torque, lights up the rear axle and round to go.
Is that just a lack of patience there, Martin? He's just gone too early on it?
Yeah, you've just got to feed the throttle in a little bit with these cars. They've got very long throttle pedals anyway to help the drivers feed. Yeah, that's what we joined with, and that's why Leclerc is only down in 10th place.
Yeah, he played second fiddle to his teammate so far this weekend. That has Charles Leclerc after having the upper hand in the first race in Australia. So we've got Piastri, Hamilton and now Kimi Antonelli joining the top three, and ahead of the Alpine of Gasly round the final corner comes Max Verstappen to start a flying lap.
And Norris's 32.0 was actually deleted for track limit, so he hasn't got a time on the board.
Yeah, Jack Doohan's had a lap time deleted, obviously, and has dived back into the pits again because he clearly went over the white lines by going off. But that's, whether it be costly or not for Lando Norris, it's certainly not the smooth start to a qualifying session he would have wanted.
He's having a bit of a difficult day. I think they find there's a lot of speed in that McLaren, but they're finding it a little bit knife-edge in terms of its handling. They had a few adventures with them. And we'd have to say Lando had quite a downbeat sprint this morning, didn't he? The championship leader.
He did, lost a couple of places at the start, eventually came home to score a point, but that's not what he would have wanted. He leads the championship now by 2 points. But this man, Max Verstappen, is a 10.5 off through the first couple of stages. Absolutely wrestling this Red Bull car towards the sharp end of the grid. Look how twitchy it is, through turn 13 as he tries to get the power down.
And that's why I tipped him as the favourite for the championship this year, because whilst I'm not sure he's got the best car at the moment, he'll always be there, he'll drag it round, he'll stand up on the seat and make it work. But Piastri and Norris are going to take points off each other. Hamilton and Leclerc, same deal. And I think even Russell and Antonelli now as well. You know, Max has got a clear run, and that's going to help him stay in the championship hunt, whatever his car is doing.
Goes fastest of all. Very good final sector for Max Verstappen. 1:31.4 for him. From Piastri, Hamilton and Russell now ahead of Kimi Antonelli. That will catch some attention. Yeah. The Red Bull fastest in the final sector.
Yeah. That's one of those, as Carlos Sainz found out last year, can very quickly keep your foot in, end up on the inside barrier to his left.
Carlos Sainz to crash and then managed to get going again and carry on in qualifying. This is where Lando Norris went off the track.
Interesting, a fair bit of time down there. So, and also Preston Mark, of course.
9 minutes to go, and in the bottom 5 at the moment is Isaac Hadjar, who just set the fastest middle sector on his first flying lap as Lance Stroll goes 5th fastest. Watch for the track to ramp up and rip up and give us some faster times as this session carries on. Jack Doohan not finding those faster times, though he's about half a second off the pace as Hadjar crosses the line, goes 4th fastest. 4/10 down on Max Verstappen. You know, ID lap that.
Hadjar's got some speed. We saw that last weekend as well. He's got a lot of speed, and you can add control to that speed. What you can't do is add speed if the speed isn't fundamentally there.
Yeah.
So that looks very good for Isaac Hadjar, despite his somewhat tearful inaugural race.
We know Fernando Alonso's got speed. He's gone 5th fastest, made that 6th as Sonoda pops up into the top 4. Gabriel Bortoleto is currently in the top 8 as Doohan crosses the line. He's only 13th fastest. So Bortoleto is currently 8th fastest. His teammate Nico Hulkenberg, who we know is a decent qualifier and certainly proved that for Haas last year, down in 15th now, and he's been out qualified in the 2 sessions we've had so far, one for the Grand Prix in Australia and one for the sprint, by the young rookie from Brazil. Alex Albon crosses the line, goes 6th fastest, and let's just keep an eye here on Liam Lawson, who is steady lap, but it wasn't a steady end to the lap, and only 15th fastest. He's a second of his teammate.
Yeah, I think that started to head off the road, didn't it? He recognised it and did something about it, but that compromised him in the last corner. Yeah, come on, Liam. You need, and Jack, you need some decent laps. Get something, get some direction, get some confidence.
First driver to crash out on his Red Bull debut, Liam Lawson, since Sebastian Vettel back in 2009, although that worked out quite nicely for Sebastian Vettel in the end, as Nico Hulkenberg puts in the usual sort of lap we expect from him and goes at 7th fastest. Lee Stevenson, the chief mechanic, knows all about days at Red Bull. He used to be there, of course. Now, here is Ollie Behrman in the Haas. And Ollie Behrman has shown glimpses of speed so far this weekend as well. Was unlucky, I think, to miss out on the final part of the qualifying for the sprint.
He did. Another lad with great speed and potential, there's no doubt about it. As I said, that's what you're looking for in the rookies. Have they got fundamental pace? Because you can build the rest of it around them. And you know Behrman has from last year, of course.
Ollie Behrman, first driver to score points for two different teams in his first 2 starts in Formula 1. Takes his Haas 7th fastest, puts it ahead of Nico Hulkenberg. We're back on board now with Charles Leclerc. I think he's cooled off and gone for it again. He hasn't set a particularly brilliant first sector, 24.4. Lando Norris, meanwhile, 4 tenths up on that, and a couple of tenths up on what we've seen as a previous best in that first sector. Having an easy ride here is Charles Leclerc. Liam Lawson's another one to radio in to say that he's still struggling, and tyre temperature was very much his struggles in qualifying yesterday. George Russell does a 24.3 for the first sector, and we've got the stopwatch on Kimi Antonelli as well with a 24.1. That's pretty comparable. Norris has dropped a little bit in the middle part of the lap, but he's still very much in touch to go ahead of Max Verstappen as Leclerc makes his way round the final corner. Starting to get a bit critical this for Charles Leclerc, who only goes 10th fastest.
Yeah, 15 go through. That's a bit nervy. Hasn't got any fuel on board for another go. Norris, like I said, a couple of tenths shy in the middle of the lap. What's he got at the end of the lap? They should get him. Oh, he had to grab a handful of opposite lock there as well, didn't he?
Didn't he just? 6th fastest, lost time in the final sector with that moment of the final turn. Round the final corner goes Kimi Antonelli, who goes 3rd fastest. Charles Leclerc, we didn't see, was in the first sector, clattered the curb quite heavily at turn 2, and that's what cost him the time there. And Liam Lawson has been noted by race control for failing to slow under yellow flags. So as soon as when Jack Doohan had his little spin, that might be something that could affect him a little bit later on as well.
It's odd, isn't it? I mean, Lando was close to perfect in one of the most challenging races last weekend, and he's had so many incidents today and near misses, and it looks like he just lacks belief in the car at the moment.
Yeah. This is Liam Lawson. See if getting all sorts of a small pot there.
Yeah, that's the bit when I was telling you about if the tyres are not where they need to be. That low, I mean, turn 1's an approach zone into turn 2, basically, and then you need the mechanical grip of the tyre. Ted, what can you tell us?
Just looking down to Williams, the mechanic is just putting the hold sign up for Carlos Sainz to come out, but he really needs to get on with it. Just waiting to see if there's a new set of tyres on the Williams. Sainz needs to take a new set of tyres. Doesn't matter if he burns through them now. He's going to be out with that lap. It's not going to be good enough. Doohan's isn't going to be good enough. Lawson's isn't going to be good enough. And Leclerc is under pressure as well. You need to be solidly in the high 131s, or as Leclerc is. Leclerc might sneak through Crofty on a 32.0. That was about the cut-off, but he's going again.
Yeah, I think we're going to be safe rather than sorry on this one. Good news for Liam Lawson. No further investigation for failing to slow under yellow flag. That's a very slow moving Charles Leclerc.
He's doing time management, isn't he? And then he's got plenty of time to do another lap. And do you know what? He really will need it. It will need to be a good one, because there's a lot of cars coming out on fresh tyres, and Charles Leclerc is very much under pressure here, trying to rescue this run.
Now we're high up in the grandstand in our commentary box here, and we can see the flags, and we know that the wind has swapped around. It was coming right to left as we look down the main straight on board with Lewis Hamilton. It's now coming left to right, and maybe that's rather caught out Lewis Hamilton there, and why he lost time on that particular lap. But the wind certainly seems to have rotated around. Meanwhile, rotating around an awful lot faster are the tyres, and Bernie's got some information for us.
Yeah, Coffee, so I was just about to say, how seriously Leclerc Verstappen, because that's the question now. Pretty much everyone has gone out on the new set of soft tyres, apart from Verstappen, and Tsunoda hadn't, but has just as well. So those new sets are being used by people that you wouldn't even expect, like Piastri, like Norris. They're finding significant time on that, and that means that those types of drivers have only got 3 new sets for the rest of this qualifying section. So if you use 2 in Q2, that's only 1 for Q3. So Verstappen will be slightly with the upper hand at this stage because he's staying in the garage.
Well, if he gets through, he's got the upper hand. But, you know, you play the lottery, I play the lottery, you've got to be in it to win it, Martin.
You have. I think I certainly saw one McLaren going out on used tyres in the beginning of this session. So they probably bolted on perhaps their first and Saturday, and they're only keeping an eye on it. But the pack is so close as we move towards the end of this sort of regulation phase where the very mature regulation.
We do need this next lap.
So George Russell with a 1:32.0, Mercedes don't think that is going to be nearly safe enough.
There's 5 drivers on the 1:32.0, for example.
Yeah.
Leclerc's at the back of it, and Behrman's at the front of it.
Here we go then, Fernando Alonso, 24.1 for the first sector. Not bad, but not great for Fernando Alonso. And along with him, a 24.2 for his teammate Lance Stroll. Bortoleto, 24.3. Leclerc, 24.3 for the first sector. And Hulkenberg with that same 24.3. That's not a good sector for Charles Leclerc either. Needs to be a couple of tenths quicker than that to be in the right ballpark. Piastri, 24.0 for that first sector. Track temperature pretty much the same as it was when qualifying started. It's not really cooling down much, which will help the drivers out there at the moment. And we've got a on board with Charles Leclerc, and it still doesn't look the easiest Ferrari in the world to try and drive. A decent middle sector. Norris has gone fastest in the first sector though, and Tsunoda has gone quickest in the middle sector as Fernando Alonso brakes for the hairpin. Nico Hulkenberg goes 7th fastest. Behrman is 11th fastest and in a bit of trouble, you would imagine. Alonso round the final corner now. Checkered flag is out, and he takes the checkered flag to go 6th fastest overall. Doohan and Lawson need a lap time. Sainz, Gasly and Ocon need a better lap time. And we're on board with Charles Leclerc, who is hovering around that danger zone. And Ferrari celebrating pole in the sprint with Lewis Hamilton. And that's a much better effort from Charles Leclerc to go 2nd fastest.
He did well, didn't he? Kept his head, to go fast. And so that Leclerc was very much in the danger zone without that somewhat impressive effort.
Here comes George Russell. We need this lap to Mercedes, and he delivers to go 2nd fastest, just behind Yuki Tsunoda. Next across the line is Isaac Hadjar, and Hadjar has just lost him on the timing screen from it. Gone 2nd fastest behind Lando Norris. So this track is really improving all the time as Sainz goes 8th fastest, and we've still got Doohan improving, Lawson improving, Gasly and Ocon, now Alex Albon to go 6th fastest overall. Next across the line will be Pierre Gasly. Ollie Behrman is hovering around the danger zone, make that in the danger zone as Gasly puts himself out of it. Oh, and Jack Doohan nearly coming a cropper at the final corner. Lawson is out, Doohan is out. That cost him that error at the final turn. Ocon should go through in 13th place.
And that pushed Gasly out at that point. So both Alpines out. Behrman 2, Bortoleto and Lawson. Lawson plumb last again.
He is having a major struggle with Liam Lawson at the start of his Red Bull career in what is his 12th Grand Prix weekend. This is Lance Stroll. Was that Ollie Behrman moving over and rather blocking him as he came onto the back straight? And that has been noted by race control at 4 impeding. So, for Pierre Gasly, it's another 16th on the grid. Jack Doohan, the 17th of the sprint, and he's now 18th. Ollie Behrman in that bottom 5-2. Gabriel Bortoletto's been out qualified by Nico Hulkenberg, and Liam Lawson struggling all the way through those 18 minutes. And what will Dr. Marco think of what has happened here? He certainly wasn't wanting that result. What do we have to say about it? Lando Norris fastest from Isaac Hadjar.
Successful, guys. Just a straight hill. I was confident with the plan I said before. I just put too much pressure on us all.
Welcome back to Shanghai. George Russell was told, George, we need this lap, and I think it just wants everyone just to breathe and relax.
Yeah, I think it just reminds you how tight it is at the front and how variable. A better set of tyres, better lap. You know, Hadjar second, Tsunoda third, for example. You know, anybody who hooks up a lap at the right moment on the right tyres will be right in there, mixing it up with the big boys.
So there was Liam Lawson trying to create a gap, and then one of the Alpines, I think that's Pierre Gasly, just nipped through and said, sorry mate, that's far too slow.
Gasly
just to get out of the way.
I don't know why, honestly don't know why he needs to do that. Stop it.
There is a gentleman's agreement, Martin, that drivers don't do that to each other.
Oh, yeah. Well, you've got to take things heavy. I mean, Gasly's out as well, out of Lawson, but it was a very slow run in, wasn't it? But it's dog eat dog down there, isn't it?
Certainly is. Bernie Collins at Sky Race Control. Oscar Piastri used a set of new tyres at the end of Q1. Has he got one less set than his rivals now?
Yeah, so it was interesting to see that him and Verstappen were right at the top of the leaderboard. Verstappen stayed in the garage, Piastri went out. Didn't actually set a faster time in that new set, but didn't need it to go through, so I think maybe something from a camera review there. But in terms of sets that we've got left, just looking at new sets, the majority of the 15 that we have left has 3 new set of softs. They need to keep one of those for Q3. The outliers, as expected, I think, really, Verstappen has 4 new set of softs, so he will feel like he's got the upper hand. That allows him 2 for Q2 and 2 for Q3. The other outlier is Albon. Albon ran 3 runs in that, 2 sets of new softs. That means he has only got 2 new softs remaining, so he's only got 1 set for this Q2 session, so it's going to be quite difficult for Albon, I think, there. And then 1 set for Q3 if he makes it that far. So Albon at a disadvantage, Verstappen at an advantage, the rest even at the minute.
Yeah, it's kind of eating his Hooties too quickly, isn't it, and using those cars. But I guess in a way for Albon, he could use them all now and actually qualify 10th and give up Q3, or top 10 and give up Q3. That'd still be 10th on the grid. You might just take that right now.
It's a sensible plan, I must admit. Right, waiting for the green light. We have a green light, and people are just waiting a while to come out onto the track, and when the Aston Martin does come out onto the track, you just say it there, it will have the Shamrock logo with the red hearts on one of the leaves, and it will have the name of Eddie Jordan emblazoned on the side of that car in tribute to the former owner of the Silverstone team, the man who gave you plenty of breaks in your life as well, Martin, and the man who was a friend to us all and who we dearly, dearly are going to miss. Our friend Eddie, who we lost on sad news coming through yesterday.
Absolutely. I think it's really weird when you listen to like that. I keep seeing men in the paddock with facial hair, and I keep it excited. We had that before. It's a horrible feeling. It's like, it's Eddie. No, it's not. It's just somebody who looks a bit like Eddie used to look. But, Illness being sworn at, and Illness being told how much money we owe him. But of course we adored the banter.
I don't know much of life, but I know that Eddie would have absolutely loved the action that we've seen so far this weekend, and would have been pacing up and down in the paddock while qualifying was going on. He's a man who never ever sat still and lived life to the fullest. So here we go then. Cars coming out onto the track. Second part of qualifying, and some restricted by tyre usage, some restricted by the abilities of their car, and some with a bit more confidence than others. I wonder where George Russell's confidence is at the moment. From that team radio, it seemed like, look, I know exactly what I'm expecting to do and what I think I can do, and I'm fully in control of it.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. It's like, team leader, okay, everybody, let's calm down, let's just run this methodically. Of course, we only get a fraction of the radio calls broadcast, so it's very easy to overreact, because even sometimes we only get half of something, and because we can't. It's not a team radio show, it's a qualifying show, and we've got to show the track action, of course. But it's very easy to misread into some of those.
Now you can listen to the team radios if you wish on our onboard channel, and if you're Bernie Collins, you can probably listen to 4 all at once. Can you hear me, Bernie?
I'm trying to listen to as many as I can across it, really testing my pit wall skills, but just having a look through George Russell in particular, and I think what he's getting at, reading between the lines, is on the second run they did, the new soft run, they did push, and that put pressure on that final lap. So he'd already done 1 lap and that's being set. So rather than just doing single lap runs, they went for push, and it sounds like that is what was making them a little bit unhappy in Q1, because they were really testing what was effectively a used car.
Thanks ever so much, Bernie, but the engineers will work out what the best run plan is. On a good day, it fits in with what the driver wants to do, and on a bad day, well, someone's got to make some compromises somewhere.
It looks nicely dialed in at the moment, though, for George Russell.
Well, he's got a 24.2 in the first section ahead of this man, his teammate Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah. The car just, the Mercedes looks quite nice at the moment in this phase. And I wonder, air temp 26, track temp's dropped a couple of degrees. We're just getting into a bit more of a sweet spot, as it's now 3:30 in the afternoon.
Antonelli will have picked up a pretty nice slipstream behind Charles Leclerc down that back straight. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda has just done the fastest first sector and usurped straight away by Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin. Antonelli opens up the DRS, puts in a 1:31.5 and goes a tenth quicker than he managed in the first part of qualifying. And then George Russell with a 1:31.3 says, yeah, he'll do nicely for the time being.
Albeit slightly slower than Q1 for George Russell.
On board now with the Racing Bulls of Isaac Hadger, getting a great view from the helmet cam as under the bridge he goes. Fourth fastest for Hadger, but he pushed too hard too soon.
Stacker, let's make this as difficult to see out as we possibly can, isn't it? But when you're in it, I drove Lewis, didn't I, late last year, when you're in it, you don't see any of that nonsense in front of you.
No, true.
You're just looking across the top of the tyres.
Close to the back of it as Yuki Tsunoda took the final corner there, because you could hear the tyres screaming. The second fastest for Tsunoda. That Racing Bulls looks really racy as Piastri now goes a tenth up on George Russell and goes fastest overall. But I don't think he's going to last very much longer at the top of the standings, because here comes Lando Norris, and Lando Norris puts half a second between himself and Piastri. When he is hooked up a lap, he's looked impressive this weekend.
Yeah, I think every so often the car surprises Lando and takes away his confidence a little bit, but when it doesn't, he is fast as fast can be.
Right, Charles Leclerc, as his teammate Lewis Hamilton crosses the line with a 1:31.6. Leclerc will be next to go over the line. It's quite a short dash, and he moves just ahead of Lewis Hamilton, or just behind Lewis Hamilton, I should say, in 7th place. Max Verstappen will be next to cross the line. He's got plenty of tyres at his disposal. Goes over the curve a little bit there, which is why you saw the puff of smoke. Third fastest only for Max Verstappen. And while we watch the action on track as Hulkenberg goes 10th fastest, let's hear from Verstappen's teammate Liam Lawson, who's with Rachel Brooks.
Liam, tell me what you are dealing with out there. You said on the radio, messy, and I'm struggling a lot. Tell me what the feeling's like in the car and why it's so hard to get a lap out of it right now.
Yeah, it's just really tough, honestly. I think the window's really small. That's known, but honestly, it's not an excuse. Like I've got to get a handle on it. It was a messy session, and had we not dealt with traffic and stuff like that, it might have been okay. But to be honest, it's still not good enough. To be having those issues, and that's the reason that we get knocked down. We should be fast enough on our first lap. We should be pretty issue. So I just need to get on top of it.
What do you need to get on top of? What is the feeling? What is it? Because it's completely different to the way you're used to driving a car, has particular characteristics. Can you help us understand a bit more about it?
Unfortunately, I don't really have time, but it's just one of those things that to drive a Formula 1 car, it's, it takes 100% confidence in what you're doing, and it's not that I don't feel confident, but the window's so small that right now I just seem to miss it, and it's bad that I just need to get a handle on. So, yeah, I don't know how else to put it, really. It's just not good enough.
Honest assessment from Liam Lawson, and I think to do with a week off from the race track.
Yeah, and he's going to get that, isn't he, before Japan. But it's typical times, and every time he gets out of the car and sees Tsunoda right up there, he'll feel even more nervous, I think, in that position. He was 7/10 off Verstappen in Q1. That dropped him out. Verstappen was third, he was 20th. And you think, wow, that's a half a tenth per corner. That's doable, but it's not. It's so hard to find. It's a fundamental shift you need to find 7/10 of a second. So, but the good thing is Liam's not making a lot of excuses. He's saying, I've got to do something better, do something different, and that's the right attitude. And it's an attitude the team will be able to cope with. If you get out and start blaming the tyres, the gearbox, or whatever, they don't take the money for that.
Very true. Talking of tyres, used tyres for the two Mercedes and the two Ferrari on their first runs in Q2. We have a little lull now while the tyres get changed and we wait for the cars to come back out. So good time to mention that time of a 1:30.787 for Lando Norris, which we thought was good, and it's good enough to be the new all-time lap record here in Shanghai. So anything that beats that is also going to be a new lap record, and I dare say we will be getting somewhere in the 130.3, 130.4 by the time we go for pole.
No, that's proper fast, isn't it? To be sub 91 seconds around here. Wow, that's a lot of energy going on. Ted has news.
So a used tyre for Oscar Piastri, so watch out for that. Everyone else I can see passing them on new tyres, new for the Aston Martin, new for the two Mercedes, who've really gone ahead of the queue, Antonelli and Russell, maybe spurred on by Russell's pep talk earlier to his team that he doesn't want any panic, decided to get out there early. But Isaac Hadjar, after starring in Q1, really having a bit of a harder time now in Q2. Bit aggressive on the throttle, saw traction, some poor traction around the back of the circuit. That's why he's down there at the moment. But he'll be hoping to get through. He's good.
Yeah, 4 minutes to go then, and the bottom five. Carlos Sainz, who is joining the queue of teammates that get out-qualified by Alex Albon, who's been out-qualified just twice by a teammate in the last couple of seasons at Williams. It's last 47 races, he's only been out-qualified twice by his teammate. Well, Sainz is in that bottom five, along with Fernando Alonso, and Isaac Hadjar, Esteban Ocon, and Lance Stroll. And the difference between Stroll, who's out, and Hulkenberg is in, is about 5/100ths of a second. It's very, very tight indeed. In fact, if you were Hulkenberg and you were Stroll, you could improve by a couple of tenths, you'd go somewhere around 6th fastest at the moment.
Yeah, somebody could have a stunning qualifying here. Somebody we would normally consider midfield could have a storming grid position out of pure performance and not other factors here this afternoon. So yeah, that's fairly pointing out Piastri out on used tyres, everybody else showing on newest ones at the moment, although they don't look particularly new as they head into turn 4. We'll wait for that to update.
Here's Russell, who is still just cooling the tires. Mercedes do this occasionally, don't they? They go out for what looks like a flying run, but then they'll do a second preparation lap.
Yeah. So I always thought it was a bit odd when we started the sprint concept. So you add another qualifying session to the weekend, you add a mini race to it, but they've taken away one set of tyres. That's right. But it's the same for everybody. So you've got 12 sets of dry tyres for a weekend rather than 13. And that puts an extra dimension into it, and it's more eco, and I guess it makes sense. But initially I thought, hang on, one more quali, one more race, and you've got one less set of tyres. Where's the logic? The magic is stuck. Okay.
That's the brake magic.
Yeah. I think so, isn't it? Is that what Lewis had?
That's right.
With that moment in,
and that
shifts
the brake bias.
Yeah, that probably cost him a world championship, didn't it? It was down into that day in Baku.
I remember it well from the restart. George Russell, I thought, was on a second preparation lap, but he's actually on a flying lap, only 4th fastest. It's not really an improvement. Antonelli is going very slowly indeed. He has time to get to the line and start the lap. Hamilton's just aced the middle sector. Charles Leclerc is pretty handy in the first sector as well. Everyone out on the track bar Lando Norris for a final flying run in this Q2. So Antonelli will keep an eye on and see if they've corrected that problem, as Nico Hulkenberg now goes 9th fastest for Haas, improved by about a tenth of a second. For Sauber, his new team, improved by a tenth.
Bernie at Sky Race Control telling me that Antonelli's been told all is okay, carry on.
Lewis Hamilton knows it all is okay, he's carried on, but only gone 6th fastest. Lewis Hamilton, the final sector was not good for Lewis, dropped about 4 tenths compared to the best sector time that we'd had. So keep an eye on that, see who can improve behind him. Charles Leclerc is currently in the top 10. He can make that 6th fastest only, but ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton. With Antonelli now on a flying lap, going well in the first sector. Ocon on a flying lap. Pretty handy sector times for him, 1 and 2 sectors, and goes 10th fastest, knocks out Nico Hulkenberg in the Sauber, the man he replaced at Haas this year. Isaac Hadjar goes 4th fastest for the Racing Bulls, who are on for a really impressive Q3 if they can keep this going, and that then pushes Ocon into the bottom 5. We're on board now with Kimi Antonelli, the young 18-year-old. The checkered flag is out. It's not been a particularly brilliant lap this for Antonelli. He's currently 9th fastest.
I thought Russell was going to give him a massive slipstream down the back straight, but he got out of the way. Antonelli then stays right, shortest run to the line, and doesn't go faster.
Remains 9th fastest. Carlos Sainz is on a decent lap. Fernando Alonso has set the personal best in the first sector. Alonso crosses the line, goes ahead of his teammate, but he is out of qualifying. Round the final corner comes Carlos Sainz. Can he knock his teammate Alex Albon out? No, he can't. Albon out qualifies him for the second Grand Prix running. Sainz down in 15th, and Antonelli will hang on in that 9th spot as one by one they tried to depose him and couldn't. Lando Norris with the fastest time from Max Verstappen. I suppose the big surprise there is Carlos Sainz on his qualifying pace again.
Yeah, he's definitely... what's going to happen here with young Kimi? Washed out to the outside, got on the dirty bit, and it's annoying. You've kind of blown the lap before you start. And yeah, I would say the other surprise there is the lack of pace of Ferrari generally there compared to what we saw in sprint quali, in the sprint itself. I know they weren't on, I think they were on fresh tyres right at the end there, but 7/10 of Norris. But did you know if McLaren really link up, get the 3 bells up, get all...
Please hold up.
Maybe the calendar to turn those by the sound of it, as far as... What did he say? Glacial, he said, yeah?
I think it's crazy out that.
I thought he said glacial lap.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Either way, you've lost 5 then. Carlos Sainz, Paul Williams is out. Lance Stroll is out. Fernando Alonso is out. Nico Hulkenberg has Sauber's highest start of the season and is out. And Esteban Ocon has qualified 8 places higher than he did in Australia, and he's out too. Norris, Verstappen and Piastri, the top 3, the Racing Bulls, looking pretty racy as well.
Very annoying what he did. Just left the car, went into the braking of 14. That's pretty nasty.
clearly conviction. Could have pushed more. Isaac Hadjar there, very happy so far with his qualifying performance, and he should be. Second in Q1, fourth in Q2. Let's take a look at that Q2 lap. It's a really good effort so far for a rookie who's never been to this circuit before. Chucks it into turn one. Look at his hands there. The car looks like it's working well. Slight correction just to try and get into that second apex, but we've seen other people struggling with more. Bit wide off the curb at the left-hander of 3, but that's not so much of a problem these days. You can carry the minimum speed. Up into turn 6 now in the slow speed corners. The Racing Bulls have had very good rotation. That was their strength in Melbourne. And once again, it really looks like they can carry good apex speed around the slower corners. Watch his hands here now. Nice and smooth, I have to say, through turns 7, 8, and now coming into 9. Nice and controlled. No real instability there in those sort of changes of direction. And again through 10, the traction good. Coming up to the end of the second sector. Now we turn hard left into 11. A little bit deep, didn't quite hook up that inside curve as well as we've seen other people doing. Seesawing of the wheel a little bit. Goes for the lower line in terms of a shorter distance, in terms of traction. We've seen other people taking a high line, but Isaac preferring the low line onto the long back straight. Trying to pick the braking point now. There, on the anchors, getting stopped. Again, that slow speed rotation from the Racing Bulls working well for him. Opens up the wheel well to get a good straight line exit and then charges up to the final corner. Nice and smooth with the wheel there as well. And really, a nice, tidy lap. Well done, Isaac Hadjar. More of the same in Q3.
And Yuki Tsunoda, his teammate, fifth fastest in Q2, where of course he qualified in Melbourne. We see the Ferrari pit wall there, Martin, and waiting for the cars to come out. A lot of people will be waking up back in the UK thinking, yeah, Lewis Hamilton won the sprint, and now asking, where's Ferrari's pace car?
Well, let's see when it all shakes out now with presumably a couple of runs on those brand spanking new shiny tyres, the shiny as they come out of the mould, until you can get a few hundred metres on them. And of course then in about 10 miles, 15 kilometres time, they'll hate them because they're used by then, and they won't give you the grip. But yeah, now we're going to see, this is it, least fuel, most power, greatest attack, and we get the pure speed of Formula One.
Bernie Collins at Sky Race Control can tell us who's on new tyres for these first runs in Q3.
Well, hopefully I can help you. I can tell you definitely who has 2 new sets available. That's the McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes and Verstappen. Both have 2 new sets of softs available. With 1 set of softs, we've got the 2 RBs, Tsunoda and Hadjar, and with no new softs, we've got Albon. Now that's allowed in sprint, or that's allowed in new qualifying because it's a sprint weekend. That's not normally allowed. Normally you have to see the new set for 2 softs.
So Lewis Hamilton with just the 1 set of new softs, and so going out probably on a used set for his first run?
No, sorry, 2 new sets. We've got McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes and Verstappen. So 7 drivers with 2 new sets of softs.
Yeah, well, Albon's done what we said, didn't you? Get yourself into the top 10 shootout, and then you haven't got anything left, but you're in the top 10. So it's a decent grid slot for Williams. Absolutely. It probably won't, unless somebody doesn't set a time, of course, then he could beat those. They might get some anyway. Let's have a look. But so that went him, and as Bernie points out, the rules are slightly different on a sprint weekend. Because you've got less tyres, you are allowed to use take them, burn all your tyres up and not have at least 1 qualifying tyre ready for Q3 because it's a sprint weekend.
Remember when Max Verstappen used to come out the pits and wanted to get a move on and get a bit irritated by slower moving cars in front? Yeah. George Russell just done a Verstappen to Verstappen on that one. And Alex Albon says the wind has picked up. And if I look out of our commentary box window, not only is it picked up, but it's also changed its angle a bit. So when you go into turn 1, you're then getting into a headwind. It's blowing right to left along the main straight. I don't know what's on fire in the distance there, Martin, but that's showing us clearly where the wind is coming from, those smoke.
Thankfully, York still his road. They'll sort that out, haven't they? But it's 2.2 metres per second. I don't know what that is on the Beaufort scale, but drafty, I'd have thought, more than anything. Nothing more than that.
might necessitate a comb through the hair after you've been through it. Right, here goes Max Verstappen. His first flying lap then in this qualifying session. The man who was on pole last year.
Yeah, that was great around there, and Max is a man for all day, every day, isn't he, in a Formula One car, never gives up, and powers through turn 4, keeps it right, shortest run for this little nothing pink downhill braking, get the car in, push the throttle up, squeeze the throttle, you feel the grip, go, give it full beams. This should be absolutely flat out, he's got a bit of traffic distracting him, but that shouldn't have been a problem. A couple of downshifts, stay right, stay right, stay right, open up these two left-handers, don't take any curb because it's really slippery on those, short straight, and you take a very, very late turn in to this little left-hander here, big crank of the steering wheel. Now this is an important corner. That's quite well glued down, isn't it, that's a Red Bull, just got it right on the edge of grip and traction. If you're going fast in a racing car, you're always sliding a little bit. Now again, stay marginally left, don't have the dirt on the absolute left, but you want to open up this right-hand hairpin. Get it in early, you've got a bit of space on the exit, and you can hear the raft of that Honda exhaust, and this unsighted, really fast corner that nips through the exit. It all looked lovely, didn't it?
Well, what's his time? A 1:30.9, a couple of tenths quicker than he managed for his best time in Q2. Kimi Antonelli disturbs the gravel as he makes his way around the final corner, and that's cost him in the final sector 4 tenths to Verstappen. Piastri has set 2 purples so far on his lap in terms of sector times. Hadja goes second fastest on a used set of tyres. Here comes his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who was 5th on the grid for the season opener in Australia, and he's 3rd on the grid at the moment, equalling his best in Formula One so far.
I tell you, Racing Bull, somebody's going to have a stonking result here. And Piastri then, the short run to the line.
Piastri, 7 front rows in his Formula One career, no poles. He's now on provisional poles by 2 tenths of a second. And Bruce McLaren, the McLaren founder, had 7 front rows without a pole position. Oscar Piastri's levelling that at the moment, but he's on that provisional pole as Hamilton goes 3rd fastest for Ferrari, and that's a bit more like it for Ferrari fans wondering where the pace has gone. What about Leclerc though? He is next to cross the line. Charles Leclerc to the line behind Hamilton by a tenth of a second. Ferrari sharing the 2nd row. Lando Norris will be next to cross the line, and by 9/100ths of a second is beaten to provisional pole by his teammate Oscar Piastri. Ferrari hold that front row again as they did in Melbourne, but this time it's the other way round. Piastri ahead of Norris.
Keeping an eye on George Russell, who's doing a pretty solid lap time out there as well. But yeah, they found some pace in the break. It's about a quarter of a second shy at the moment for Hamilton, and a third of a second for Leclerc. What can George do in these final 2 corners? A little bit of wheel spin coming out of the hairpin there. Throws it in and goes through the gravel. His teammate kicked up onto the racetrack. Russell P5 splits the Ferrari.
Russell, I think, might have done 2 preparation laps before that push lap there. He, if you remember, got ahead of Max Verstappen, and then we saw, when you saw you were commentating on Verstappen's lap, that was Russell that he passed. I don't know if he made a mistake going into turn 1. This is Antonelli picking up the gravel, and he gets his lap time deleted as a result for exceeding track limits because he's gone over the white line.
Top.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so bit of damage to the floor, I have no doubt as well, for Antonelli. Loses the lap time, spreads gravel on the track, he needs to go again. It cost him about 3 tenths of a second in that final sector. That's all bobbing through the gravel.
So this is where Oscar Piastri had the advantage to Lando Norris, and in the final sector Norris clawed a tenth of a second back, which might have been when we saw him going through the hairpin and the gravel there.
Yeah, so we've got the repechage, haven't we? Here we go again. Quick sip of fuel.
So that top 10, with Antonelli with no time at all. The ones that intrigue me are Hadja and Tsunoda, who are both on used soft tyres for that run. And have they got the pace, I wonder, to trouble Hamilton, Verstappen, Russell, 4th, 3rd and 5th at the moment, based on what we've seen so far in this qualifying?
When they put a new set of boots on, one of them has.
Yeah.
Or both of them maybe. Let's see. So you can only refuel at 4.8 per second per litre, which is slightly random number, isn't
How does
it?
that equate to when I go and fill up the estate car back home?
Well, are you looking at the price or the litres?
Always the price, Martin. Always the price.
It seems to go up quite quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot quicker than it did when I first started driving. It has to be said. Yeah, next time, just try and count how fast the litres are going in as you're filling up your car at the station. It probably is done an awful lot quicker in Formula One. Ted Kravitz, down in the pit lane. Where are you, sir?
Well, I'm around the sort of Aston Martin Mercedes area, and even from here, Crosby, I can sense the sigh of relief on the McLaren pit wall, because whatever they've changed has worked. They've realised that to protect the tyres, you need to be starting on the front row, preferably in pole position, and that's worked for Oscar Piastri, and it's worked for Lando Norris. Oh, that is a plum unsafe release. Max Verstappen into the Red Bulls.
So it's the Racing Bull.
The Racing Bulls. That is Max. Absolutely went into the slow lane, and that's a big fine coming the Racing Bulls way.
Right. Well, we will see a replay of that in a moment, Ted, I'm sure.
So what did you say, Ted? They interrupted Max, or Max interrupted them?
Well, let's have a look, because I think we're about to get a replay. Here comes Max. I assume it's the other way round.
Yeah.
Hadjar interrupting Max, yeah. Whoever was waving Isaac Hadjar out of his garage didn't look right, and should have looked right, because Max was coming. No, that was never going to be the right time to release him.
No, that must be so difficult to do for everybody in the pit lane, because blankets have to come off, car goes down, wave the driver out. How long does it take the driver to engage the gear, or if you hit anti-stall or something? And it's not a precise art just pulling out the guys like that. But of course, they've got to get it right.
Here we go then. Just under 3 minutes to go, and it's McLaren with another front row lockout. 66 times previously in Formula One. They've locked out the front row, 2 fewer than Ferrari, is number 67, coming their way, and is Oscar Piastri about to take his first pole position in Formula One on this Shanghai Saturday afternoon after 7 front row appearances, equal with Bruce McLaren, who the number of appearances on the front row without a pole position.
Yeah, Isaac Hadjar not wanting another call from Dr. Helmut Marko this week, and lets Max Verstappen through. I hope it doesn't compromise his prep for his lap, but he needs to be nice and slow to get those pressures down. And will they pull the pin immediately? Will they go for it?
Let's see. Just to complete that Bruce McLaren analogy there, Lando Norris has 27 career podiums, which is exactly what Bruce McLaren managed in his career as well. Verstappen then on his way to his final flying lap, barreling in at some speed into turn 1, currently third on the grid.
He makes that decision to turn in at 190 miles an hour, 310 kph, and it needs to be inch or centimetre perfect.
Hasn't had a pole since Austria last season, Max Verstappen. It's a run of 14 races, and yes, I know he was quickest in Spa and in Qatar in Q3, but he didn't take pole position because of penalties that day. He's done a 23.9 for the first sector, which is very handy, but Lando Norris has matched it in the McLaren. So it's neck and neck, Verstappen and Norris. Hamilton a tenth off in the first sector. Hadjar a couple of tenths off in the first sector. Antonelli a couple of tenths off in the first sector. And the middle sectors of Verstappen, couple of tenths shy of what he needed. Piastri with a 23.9, matching Norris and Verstappen through the first part of the lap.
Yeah, you're right. Max lost a couple of tenths there, but still plenty of time. The last sector's 40 seconds. To do something about it.
Lando Norris has also dropped time in the middle part of the lap, and by a little bit more than Max Verstappen. It's looking good for Piastri at this moment, but he'll be the last of the top 3 to cross the line. Hamilton, it's not looking brilliant for him in terms of taking a second pole this weekend as Verstappen gets onto the curb, dashes to the line, can't improve on third place. That run without a pole continues. Isaac Hadjar throwing his car into the final corner, goes 7th fastest for his best start in Formula One. He's been noted as well for an unsafe release, and Lando Norris aborts his lap which is going to leave Oscar Piastri with his first pole position in Formula One. Unless Ferrari can do something about it. Here comes Lewis Hamilton, stays on that second row alongside Max Verstappen. Round the final corner comes Oscar Piastri. It is pole for Piastri, and he's gone even faster. It's the first pole in Formula One, and he's set a new lap record here in Shanghai in the process.
Yeah, well deserved. He's been shaping up to do that as Oscar Piastri, driven beautifully with two very strong laps.
Now Charles Leclerc, can he muster his Ferrari higher up the order than 6th on the grid? George Russell currently 5th for Mercedes and improving on his lap. Leclerc will stay 6th fastest. Sonoda has pitted and will start 9th on the grid. As the time's not all these drivers improving on their second runs. George Russell, DRS open, heads to the line and heads to the front row. He split the two McLarens. And I said not all the drivers were improving, but George Russell found some pace, and Piastri gets pole from Russell, and the margin, 82 milliseconds.
Russell found 6/10 of a second from Q2. He upshifted halfway through the final corner. Just after the apex, George Russell upshifted. Wow, he took some speed through there.
Well, they picked the right man to follow. Piastri in papaya on pole. But George Russell got a lot closer, I think, than many people were thinking. Said he had a plan, said he was quite calm about it.
I think that was the hairpin of my life.
Yeah, so, good stuff there. So that is 2-1. 2-1, well done, mate. Pole position. Great job.
Very nicely done. Thank you. I just had a little strain in my helmet, so I'll not bear serious off. But thanks everyone. It was a bit of a journey to get there, but well done. Very, very good.
Fabulous for Austin. That's good for him. His first pole